Okay, so today we're continuing with our monthly series on the 12 powers. Now, Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore, in his book, The 12 Powers, explores the journey that Jesus took in which he fully realized his Christ nature through the development of the 12 powers. Charles wrote, when Jesus had attained a certain soul development, he called the 12 apostles to him. When man, humankind, is developing out of mere personal consciousness into spiritual consciousness, he begins to train deeper and larger powers. He sends his thought down into the inner centers of the organism and through the word quickens them to life. And where before his powers have worked in the personal, now they begin to expand and begin to work in the universal. Now, what Charles is saying here is that these powers are within each of us. Initially, we use them for our own personal ego consciousness. But as we grow, we begin to use these powers for humankind, for the greater good. We begin to use these powers for the expansion of our spirituality and consciousness. Utilizing and balancing these powers in everyday life can lead to inner peace, lead to perfect harmony, both within ourselves, with others, and with the world. Now, to utilize these 12 powers, we need to understand that they are 12 expressions of the one power, 12 expressions of the Christ within each of us. Now, these powers are faith, strength, wisdom, love, power, imagination, understanding, will, order, zeal, renunciation, and life. And we use these intermittently. We use them, utilize them, bring them up when they are needed, and many times they work in partners. Like love works with wisdom. Wisdom and understanding, the three powers go hand in hand. Charles Fillmore wrote, the subconscious realm in man has 12 great centers of action with 12 presiding egos or identities. Now, what he's telling us here is that we have a choice. We can use these powers for ego purposes, or we can use them from an elevated consciousness, from our Christ self, which contributes to the world. Now, when we use the term Christ, we're referring to the fully awakened human being, the same as Buddha mind or higher self or indwelling Lord. It's a state of consciousness within us that is completely one with God. Jesus, the man from Galilee, born in Bethlehem, realized his true spiritual nature and became the Christ. And Jesus became our way shower, showing us the way to know our Christ nature and to fully realize it. Now, Fillmore also saw Jesus' 12 disciples as symbolically representing each of the 12 powers of Christ. He believed that each disciple manifested one aspect of the Christ more perfectly than the other and connected that power to the disciple. Peter became faith, James became wisdom and discrimination, John love, Andrew strength, and so on. And I'm going to ask Dave to show an illustration now. Okay, if we look at this chart, it shows exactly in the body where that power resides. So if you look in the middle under love, you'll see that it's pink. It's John represents it. It's in the back of the heart. And love, the power of love is the ability to harmonize, unify, and attract. Okay, I have to get back. Okay, sorry, my screen was full. So you can see that, again, love is in the center. It's the heart center. Technically it says that it's in the back of the heart, but it's really like the heart chakra radiates throughout that entire center. And John was chosen to represent love because John embodied unconditional acceptance and forgiveness. Now, in Keep It True Lent, Charles Fillmore says, love in divine mind is the idea of universal unity. In expression, it is the power that joins and binds together the universe and everything in it. Love is a harmonizing, constructive power. When it is made active in consciousness, it conserves substance and constructs, rebuilds and restores us and our world. So love from the level of divine mind is true oneness. It's knowing oneness. And within the world, it has the power to join and bind us, and to join and bind us together and with the universe. So love is the power to harmonize, to unify, to unconditionally attract and feel affection. Since we live in a world of apparent duality, the 12 powers also offer a dual nature. We can utilize them from our ego consciousness or from an elevated consciousness, which leads to the awakening of the Christ within. Now, Paul Hasselbeck and Cher Holton, who wrote the book Power Up, distinguishes love within the two levels of consciousness, or the two possibilities, ordinary and elevated consciousness. They wrote, love from ordinary consciousness is the ability to feel affection for, desire, attract oneself to, harmonize, and unify based on our senses, thoughts, and feelings and beliefs. So that's within the world. They say we can use love to be loving or lustful. Through our desire, we can use love to bring good or bad into our lives based on what we're focused on. Now, again, that's from ordinary consciousness or ego consciousness. They also say within ordinary consciousness or ego consciousness, there exists the possibilities of underdeveloped love and egocentric love. Now, underdeveloped love results in a person who has a limited ability to feel affection or positive regard for another person. So basically someone who's ego, who has this underdeveloped sense of love, this inability to love. They say it can also result in a person who has difficulty handling conflict, and egocentric love results in a person who loves indiscriminately or inappropriately. It may also show up as a kind of fatal attraction, neediness, lust, or an inability to compromise when necessary. Now, what they've described here in this passage is basically fear-based love. And fear-based love is an oxymoron because fear and love are opposites. What can be love, what is all-encompassing, love is all-encompassing, can have no fear. But within the world of duality, we see that. Duality only exists in the world of form. And duality is an illusion because there is only the one. Now, I know I've experienced some of what I just described, and I'm sure you've all experienced it also. Again, because we live in a world of duality. Now, they also say that love from an elevated consciousness is the ability to feel affection for, desire, attract oneself to, harmonize, and unify based on the ideas, truths, and principles and laws that are in divine nature. So we see here, this is elevated consciousness. This is a consciousness of oneness. This is the consciousness of the Christ within. They say we use love to desire our divine nature. So we use love with the desire to raise our consciousness, to elevate, to live from our divine nature, so that we can harmonize everything to the best that we can be, to live a most accomplished, and collaborative life, which is the ability to basically live from our Christ self. So that is to see oneness, to not see duality, to be in a world of duality, but to see beyond it. Now think of the number of ways we use the word love. It's as diverse as I love my soulmate, to I love that new song, to I love chocolate chip cookies, which I personally identify with. It's the same word, but it has different intents. Now, John 1, chapter 4, verse 8 says, God is love. That's it. God is love. That same scripture tells us that those who abide in love abide in God, and God abides in them. So at the same time, we must realize that God, divine mind, is so much more than just love. Love is one aspect among many. Now, again, when we speak of the power of love, we can define it as three potential aspects: emotion, attraction, harmony. Now, emotion is the ability to feel for, desire something, and it's the type of love that's most written about because it's defined as this deep, fervent affection for another person. But this type of love is also associated with warm affection or high regard for another person, like a family member, a friend, or a teacher. We also know this type of love can be fleeting, because if we say we love someone and then they do something that we're not fond of, all of a sudden that love changes. So this is the emotional part of love that exists in the world. Another part of that is attraction. And attraction is the ability to attract ourselves towards something. We know this as the third unity principle, the law of attraction. Thoughts held in mind produced after their kind. And again, we do this from ego consciousness or Christ consciousness. When we say love is a mighty magnet, the assumption is that love attracts. But the truth is that love is like a magnet through which we attract ourselves to what we desire, want, need, or require. So on an earthly level, we may be wanting to attract ourselves to meeting a life partner, which is fine. But on a higher level, the power of love is bringing thoughts of unification and unconditional love to our lives. Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting a life partner, but an elevated level of love is unconditional love. Now, the third aspect is harmony. And harmony is the ability to unify or bring agreement and accord to our thoughts or a situation. So basically, it's the undoing of conflict. It's harmonizing. So love is the power that harmonizes everything to match what we are desiring. While it may seem odd, remember it is love that powers what we desire in the moment, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we must become aware moment by moment what we're thinking and feeling, because the power of love will attract us to whatever we have in consciousness. It will increase it. Now, this is where wisdom comes in. We use the power of wisdom and understanding with the power of love so that we can choose rightly. Now, love expressed can be expressed from 4 different levels of consciousness. And the first is unconscious love. Now, this is the power of love based on a cause in our subconscious mind, which are beliefs that are not in our moment-to-moment awareness. This is what we think Paul was referring to in Romans 7 when he said, instead of doing what I know is right, I do wrong. So this is like not wanting to eat sweets, But the unconscious desire to eat sweets is so overwhelming that we seem out of control and can't help but eat sweets. And again, this is on an unconscious level. Now, the second is a conscious level of love from our senses. Now, remember, this is still in the world. It's our senses. This is the power of love based on something physical like sound, scent, sight, touch, taste. So let's say you love coffee and you find yourself walking through a mall and all of a sudden you're smelling this fresh scent of brewed coffee. And all of a sudden you make your way over to that coffee shop so that you could have some. Now this is a level that we're aware of. We're aware that we like coffee and we smell it. And so through our senses, that conscious love is reminded. We're reminded of it. It's brought to the surface. The third is the consciousness of love from our human personality. Now, this is the power of love based on thoughts, feelings, attitudes, and beliefs that are in our conscious mind. Before, we were talking about it in a subconscious mind. So now it's in our conscious mind. We feel it, we acknowledge it moment by moment. But this is still in ordinary consciousness, which is in the world. So let's say we like a certain type of movie, like period pieces or action movies or love stories. With this level of love, we would use this power to desire that in another person. So we attract someone like that who likes the same types of movies so we can go see them together. The fourth type of conscious love is from our true identity, from our authentic self, from our higher self, from our Christ self. And this is the power of love based on divine ideas, based on divine laws, divine principles. And this would result in the desire to be our authentic self in action. And as a result, we would attract ourselves to behaviors, attitudes, and feelings that we believe support our true identity and help us to be the best person we can be. So an example of this would be practicing forgiveness, to be consciously aware that there's something going on that's angering us or bothering us, and to consciously choose to practice forgiveness so that we could live from our higher self. Now, the power of love can be expressed on all of these four levels of consciousness, and we need to be aware of that. Now, again, all three, the first three are based in the ego self, based in the world. The fourth transcends that. It moves beyond just our ego self and moves us into that divine action, divine creativity, where we know we're a one and we do whatever we can to live from that oneness. Love, again, is our ability to know oneness with the divine and with all things. Love is our ability to desire that only good comes to us. Love is our ability to attract to us that which we desire, and love is the great unifier and harmonizer. Love is the greatest gift that we could ever receive. And being able to give and receive love is what allows us to move through this world and realize oneness. When we remove those emotions and things that are connected to just the physical world, we rise above the lower senses of love and live from that higher. So I wish for you that the awareness of the power of love be ever present in your mind, your consciousness, your heart, and may you only manifest from the elevated aspects of love. And with that, I invite you now to just close your eyes as we move into our meditation. Just relax in your seat. Put your feet flatly on the floor. Remove anything that may be on your lap and just breathe. With every breath you take, you feel more and more relaxed. And as you breathe in love and you breathe out fear. You breathe in joy and you breathe out concern. And we know and affirm that the Christ within us is ever present, and we activate the 12 powers within us so that we can live from our Christ self. The powers of love and wisdom and understanding work together. Love has the magnetic quality and attractive, cohesive power, and wisdom and understanding allows us to choose rightly. So we affirm the Christ in me quickens the faculty of love in me. I am a radiating center of pure, unadulterated love. I attract good and radiate that to others. The Christ in me quickens the faculty of wisdom and understanding. And I am in tune with the infinite wisdom and understanding of divine mind, of universal mind. We just breathe into the purity of the love that we are. And we allow ourselves to go deep, deep within the center of our being. And we just listen. And now we bring to mind all those in our lives that we love. And we feel this affection, this radiating love that's extended to all of these people. And with that, we bring to mind those that we may be having difficulty with. And the same power of love, the same extension of love that we extended to those we love. We now look at these people we have difficulty with. Look beyond their ego personality to the truth of who they are. Now, this may not be an easy thing to do, but we have the power within us to desire it, to desire forgiveness, to express forgiveness. And this is something that when we choose to, we can work on. For right now, in this present moment, we become willing to let go of any negativity we have concerning this other person or people. And we acknowledge this power of love within us and allow that to just take over our mind, our consciousness, our being. And we choose to live from this love today to the best of our abilities. And we choose to live from this love every day to the best of our abilities. And as I said in our opening prayer, we extend this love to all those who've been affected by this pandemic, to the families of those who have lost their lives, to those who are currently experiencing the coronavirus, to all those who give so much every day to work towards taking care of and working to find a solution, and those working to serve us, and to ourselves for practicing physical distancing and being mindful to wash our hands, to wear masks. We all contribute to the resolution of this pandemic. We all contribute to the elevation of consciousness, which would remove this completely. And we align ourselves and stay aligned with divine mind and the power of love as we move through this earthly experience today and every day. Amen. And now I invite you to bring your consciousness back into the room, into your body. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And this is the time in our service where we have the ability to give, where we offer our gifts. So I want you to hold in your hand or visualize in your hand your mode of contributing, whether it be by check or using the donate button on our website or the link within What's Up at Unity. Just visualize this in your hand and know that this is a divine expression of love. Forgiving and receiving are the same. And we are so grateful to have the awareness that God is source and consciousness is our supply. We give with our heart for the greater good and for the continuation of this community. And we are so grateful for that knowledge, for that realization. And I invite you to bless the gifts with me. Divine love bless me, blesses and multiplies all that I choose to give and all that I am open to receive, and I am grateful.
Song now?
Song?